Welcome in, everybody. Ready for a deep dive.
Absolutely. Always ready to go deep.
Today, we're going to be looking at an episode of Learning Liberates that really got us thinking.
Ooh, that's Dr. Surendra's show, right?
Yeah, Dr. Surendra. And this one was all about self-realization.
I remember that one. It was packed with thought-provoking stuff.
It really was. Like, he tackled those huge E questions,
Oh, yeah.
Who am I? What's the point of it all? Is there even a self at all beyond what we think and feel every day?
Heavy stuff. And he didn't just, throw out ideas, did he?
No.
He brought in psychology, spirituality, even neuroscience. I mean, there were practical things to actually think about.
Right. It wasn't just philosophy floating around. And he started right off the bat by telling us to look inward.
Instead of what?
Outward. If we want to really feel fulfilled, have you ever noticed that? How we want achievements and relationships and nice things.
Thinking they're going to make us happy, yeah.
Exactly. But,
It doesn't really work that way.
well, according to Dr. Surendra, relying on all that external stuff, it just leads to us chasing those fleeting moments of happiness.
Oh, I see. Because
Like they distract us
Yeah.
from connecting with who we truly are,
It's like always wanting more, never feeling content.
Like a mirage, always chasing it in the desert.
Ooh, I like that.
And this is where he brought in a little psychology for us.
Okay.
Freud's idea of the subconscious.
Mysterious depths of the mind.
Right. It's all those memories and feelings and impulses we might not even be aware of.
Has that ever happened to you? Where you just do something impulsively and it's like, where did that come from?
Totally. Or you're just inexplicably drawn to something. It's kind of wild.
Yeah. So maybe that's our subconscious doing its thing behind the scenes.
Exactly. And Dr. Surendra was suggesting that our subconscious can actually have some limiting beliefs hidden down there.
Oh, interesting.
Or like negative patterns that hold us back.
Yeah.
So he thinks that by becoming aware of these influences down in our subconscious, it's like we can start to break free.
Yeah.
Almost like,
Like realizing you've been wearing the wrong prescription glasses and then finally you get the right one.
oh, that's a great analogy.
Yeah.
It's like everything comes into focus.
Totally.
But then he goes even deeper
Oh.
with Carl Jung.
Jung. He always brings the big guns.
He does. And this time, it's the collective unconscious.
Okay, remind me about that one.
So Jung believed that there's like this shared pool of human experiences, like a library of archetypes and symbols, even memories, all passed down through generations.
A universal library. That's pretty wild.
Isn't it? He thought we're all tapping into it unconsciously. It's like this ancient wisdom and creative potential all there for us.
That's a powerful image. Makes you wonder how we could access it, right?
Right. And how does that connect to understanding who we are as individuals?
That's a bit of a head scratcher.
It is. Well, he uses the example of those universal stories.
Oh.
The heroes, villains, tricksters, the stories that pop up across all different cultures.
I get it. Yeah.
Jung thought those archetypes, those recurring themes across time and place, they might come from this collective unconscious.
That actually makes a lot of sense. So how do we tap into this wellspring of ancient wisdom or whatever he called it?
He actually points to meditation as a key.
Oh, interesting. So it's more than just relaxing or de-stressing then.
It can definitely do those things.
Yeah.
But Dr. Surendra, he's focusing on how meditation helps to quiet the mind. And in that quiet, we can just observe our thoughts and feelings without judgment.
Without judgment.
Yeah. And he's specifically mentioned Vipassana meditation. It's all about cultivating that detached awareness.
So instead of being swept up in every emotion, we're just noticing them.
Exactly. Like imagine your thoughts are cars zooming by on a busy street.
Okay, I'm picturing it.
With Vipassana, you're the observer on the sidewalk
Just watching the traffic go by.
without having to jump into each car and go for a ride.
Wow. I could see how that would be so helpful even in everyday life, like not reacting to every little thing that pops up.
Exactly. It gives you space. You can choose how to respond instead of just reacting.
And maybe that space helps us get in touch with that truer self Dr. Surendra is talking about.
Maybe so.
It's all starting to connect.
It really is. Now, this is where I started thinking about the brain science side of things. Remember Dr. Surendra mentioned the default mode network?
Vaguely. Refresh my memory.
It's a network in the brain that lights up when we're just letting our mind wander, or like when we're stuck in those cycles of self-criticism and overthinking. And research has shown that meditation can actually calm all that activity down.
Oh, wow. So it's not just a feel-good thing. There's science backing this up.
It really is. More and more research is showing how good meditation is for us, from managing stress to dealing with emotions. Dr. Surendra even pointed out how meditation can release neurotransmitters like dopamine and serotonin.
And those are linked to happiness, right?
Exactly. feelings of well-being.
So maybe self-realization isn't some vague spiritual thing, but something that has an actual impact on our brains and bodies.
Right.
That's pretty amazing when you think about it.
It is. Dr. Surendra really makes a good case for how interconnected our minds, bodies, and spirits are.
And he thinks aligning all three is the key to true self-realization.
She sounds like it, yeah.
I can definitely see why this episode got you thinking.
Me too. I mean, it makes you question everything, right?
It does.
Who we are beyond all those surface thoughts and emotions.
And it doesn't just leave you hanging. It gives you tools to actually explore your inner world.
Right. But before we go any further, let's pause here for a sec. I want to bring in our listeners.
Okay, good idea.
Does this idea of looking for validation outside of yourself, does it resonate with you? Have you ever tried meditation or any other mindfulness practices to help you quiet your mind? We'd love to hear what you're thinking.
So we're back, diving deep into self-realization. Before the break, we were talking about all that brain science stuff.
And how it all ties into this idea of tapping into a deeper self. It's amazing what just paying attention to your breath can do.
Yeah.
But where does all of this fit in the big picture of self-realization?
Well, Dr. Surendra makes a really good point. It's not all about going it alone.
Okay, what do you mean?
He says we can learn a lot from other people.
Makes sense.
People who have been on this journey before, like thinkers and artists and spiritual teachers.
It's like having a guide when you're hiking on a tough trail.
Yeah, exactly. He even specifically mentions Osho.
Oh, yeah, I've heard of him.
Yeah.
Isn't he like a big deal in the spiritual world?
Definitely. And he had this great quote, something like, the more you look outside, the more lost you become. Look within, and you will find the entire universe within yourself.
Whoa.
I know, right?
It really flips the script on how we usually look for meaning and happiness.
Instead of chasing validation from the outside world, it's about turning inward.
Finding that fulfillment from deep within.
Exactly. Osho's words really get to the heart of what Dr. Surendra's talking about. Like, we already have everything we need.
The wisdom, the potential, it's all there inside us.
It just needs to be uncovered, brought to the surface.
So how do we go about uncovering this universe within?
Well, he talked about meditation.
Yeah. But are there other ways?
Yeah. He was also big on understanding ourselves better.
Like what?
Our thoughts, our feelings, our desires, really getting to know the landscape of our minds.
Like becoming a detective of our own minds.
Yeah. You start seeing the connections between your thoughts and feelings and how they lead to actions.
And how all that shapes our experience of the world.
Right. And by becoming aware of those patterns, we can start making different choices.
Conscious choices about how we want to live our lives.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So instead of just reacting to everything on autopilot, we can create space for intentional action.
That sounds really empowering.
It is. It's about taking ownership of our thoughts and feelings and actions.
But I imagine it's not always easy, right?
Definitely not. It's a journey, a lifelong one, with its own set of challenges.
But Dr. Surendra makes it sound like the journey itself is part of the reward.
He does. It's about embracing the process of learning and growing.
And expanding our understanding of ourselves and the world around us. This makes me wonder, though, about this self that we're supposedly realizing.
Yeah.
Is our sense of self fixed, or is it always evolving?
Ooh, good question. I don't think Dr. Surendra directly addressed that in this episode.
It's something to think about.
Definitely. I mean, our experiences and relationships and beliefs are always shaping who we are.
Yeah. And what about those moments when you experience something truly awe-inspiring?
Like what?
Like being in nature or losing yourself in a piece of art or music. It feels like you're catching a glimpse of something much bigger than yourself.
Oh, I know exactly what you mean. It's like you're connected to something beyond your everyday sense of self.
Maybe that's what Osho meant by finding the universe within.
Yeah, a sense of unity and interconnectedness.
Something that goes beyond individual identities. It all ties back to what Dr. Surendra was saying about mind, body, and spirit.
Right. He seems to think that at our core, we're good, we're wise, we're compassionate.
When we connect with that deeper self, those qualities naturally shine through.
And we want to extend that same awareness and compassion to others.
So self-realization isn't just a personal journey. It ripples outward.
Exactly. Dr. Surendra really emphasizes that self-realization leads to greater compassion for everyone.
Not just ourselves, but the people around us. And it impacts how we interact with the world.
It becomes less about me and more about us. And maybe that's how we create positive change.
I love that idea.
Dr. Surendra even calls his podcast Learning Liberates, because he believes knowledge can set us free. free from those limiting beliefs that hold us back.
Free to live up to our full potential. That makes me think of the ocean metaphor he used.
Oh, right. He said our thoughts and emotions are like the waves on the surface of the ocean, always moving, always changing.
But our true selves are like the stillness deep below the surface.
It's a powerful image. It's a reminder that we don't have to get swept away by every little thought and feeling. There's something deeper, more stable within us.
Something we can connect with. It makes you want to dive right in.
To explore those depths and discover what's waiting to be uncovered.
This has been such a rich conversation. I feel like my mind is bursting with new ideas.
Me too. Dr. Surendra has really given us a lot to think about. Tools, concepts, wisdom, a whole roadmap for navigating the path of self-realization.
Before we wrap things up, I want to turn it back over to you, our listeners. What resonated with you the most from this conversation? What are you taking away from this episode?
What questions are swirling around in your mind? We'd love to hear your thoughts as you continue on your own journeys of self-discovery.
It's so easy to lose sight of all this, isn't it?
What do you mean?
Self-reflection, self-realization.
Oh, yeah.
Life gets so busy. Work, relationships, you name it.
It's easy to push it aside thinking, oh, I'll get to that later.
Exactly. But Dr. Surendra's point is self-realization. It's not a destination.
It's not like you get there and you're done.
It's a constant process, right?
Exactly. And you know what? It doesn't have to be this huge thing either.
What do you mean?
Like, you don't need to go live in a cave or something.
Oh, I see. Yeah.
It can be part of everyday life.
Little things.
Little moments. Just pausing, taking a breath, reconnecting with yourself.
Like mini vacations for the mind.
Exactly. Even just really paying attention while you're having your morning coffee.
I like that. Simple but powerful.
But I know what you mean about things getting overwhelming sometimes.
Oh, yeah?
Those surface waves, like you talked about. All those thoughts and emotions, the stress. It can feel like a tsunami.
Totally. So what do we do then? How do we handle it?
Dr. Surendra, he really emphasizes being kind to yourself.
Self-compassion.
Yes, especially when things are tough. Treat yourself the way you would treat a friend who's going through something hard.
So, not beating ourselves up. When we have negative thoughts or make mistakes.
Exactly. Acknowledge them, but with kindness and understanding.
Because being self-critical all the time, that just keeps us stuck.
It does. Self-compassion creates the space for growth and healing.
This goes back to what we were talking about earlier, right?
What's that?
Our true nature. Being inherently good and wise.
Right.
If we can tap into that, maybe it becomes easier to weather those storms.
I think so. It fits with Dr. Surendra's idea that self-realization makes us more compassionate.
Not just for ourselves, but for everyone.
Yeah.
So it's not just an inward journey then.
No, it goes beyond that.
It affects how we interact with the world.
Because as we realize how interconnected everything is, we naturally feel more empathy for others.
We start acting more in line with our values.
And we can start making a positive difference.
Self-realization is not selfish then.
Not at all. It's about creating harmony within ourselves and with everyone else.
Reminds me of that Dalai Lama quote. Be kind whenever possible. It is always possible.
Love that.
And Dr. Surendra's last words in the episode really sum it all up.
Learning liberates.
He wants us to keep exploring, keep learning, never stop trying to understand ourselves and the world.
And as we do that, maybe, just maybe, we'll find the answers we've been searching for.
And maybe those answers were inside us all along.
Could be.
What a journey. If you're just joining us, we've been on a deep dive with Dr. Surendra, exploring self-realization. We hope this has inspired you to start your own exploration. And remember, it's not about reaching a destination, it's about the journey itself.
Be curious, be patient, be kind to yourself along the way.
It's been great diving deep with you all.
Until next time, keep exploring.